Phil, really quick, how many total goals in this game?
Ooh, great question. You said really quick. I've got so much to say about this, but okay, I'll be really, really quick. 3-2 to Real Madrid.
First place, Real Madrid, who've got 11 wins and just 1 loss, versus second place, Barcelona, who have 9 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Now, Real Madrid, they've scored 28 goals and allowed 10, while Barcelona have scored 33 goals and allowed 14. Now, we speak a lot about this highly anticipated rivalry match, and so does Lamine Yamal. He was alongside Ibai on a stream of Kings League and said they, Real Madrid, steal. They complain. Of course they do. Last time I went to the Bernabeu, we won 4-0. Don't you remember last season? So, a little context. This was a Kings League stream on Twitch, and Piqué was also a part of this. There was a bunch of other big people that are connected to Kings League. So, Lamine Yamal speaking a little bit. They did follow up, and he kind of said, he kind of, didn't want to say too much, but he gave us that quote, Charlie.
And the funny thing is, when we talk about big stars at the top of their game, Lionel Messi would never come out and talk about Real Madrid and beating them and scoring and basically toying with the back line. Here we have Lamine Yamal saying, Bernabeu, what is Bernabeu? It's nothing. We beat them 4-0. This is easy peasy for us. If you ever needed extra motivation, and there isn't in this type of match, El Clasico is El Clasico. Here, Xabi Alonso has his moment to come in and say, this is a statement game for us. We need to make sure that they know at home we are unbeatable. So I think this just makes it that much better. Entertainment, popcorn. I can't wait to watch this game.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it either. Let's bring in our CBS Sports La Liga correspondent, Phil Kitromilides. Phil, I want to know your thoughts on this and if there's been any talk over there in Spain after all of this came out.
One or two people have reacted to these comments from Lamine. Just to put it into context a little bit, I think it's important. It's a super informal setting that this chat is taking place. And Ibai is a massive Real Madrid fan. So there's a little bit of, banter between Ibai, when he said, don't you remember what happened last year? Ibai saying, are you going to score this time? Are you going to score this time? He said, well, I scored last time. So it's a super informal setting. You take those comments out of context, and it doesn't look great. It doesn't look completely necessary for Lamine to start saying about teams robbing and stuff. I had one journalist on the radio today saying that we need to get the Anti-Violence Commission involved because of these comments from Lamine Yamal, which is going a little bit over the top, but people do tend to go very over the top when it comes to El Clasico, and Lamine has just spiced things up a little bit. There's always drama with this game, isn't it? Last time before the Copa del Rey final, we had the refs press conference, which gave us lots of things to talk about. So yeah, there's always drama with El Clasico.
I have a quick question on how Lamine Yamal is being perceived out there in Spain, because obviously he's doing very well on the pitch, and we're seeing him post a lot with his superstar girlfriend. We're seeing him make these big comments. How are people feeling about Lamine Yamal? Do they feel like he's getting a little too big time?
I think there are people that do feel that, and then there are other people that think, listen, he can do whatever he likes off the pitch. He can say whatever he likes as long as he continues to perform on the pitch. It doesn't really matter. Clearly, Charlie was mentioning Lionel Messi, and the comparison is made obviously constantly with Lionel Messi, but in personalities, they are diametrically opposed. Lamine will come out and say these kind of things. Lamine just has this ostentatious confidence that perhaps we would associate more with Cristiano Ronaldo rather than Lionel Messi. Ronaldo came out and once said, people hate me because I'm rich, good looking and great at football, but he was great at football, still is great at football. If you can back up these big comments, then it's you can kind of get away with more or less anything. And at the moment, Lamine has gotten away with stuff. Remember before the Nations League semi-final against France, and it was being set up as a kind of Ballon d'Or battle between him and Dembélé, and he said, you want to do this? Let's do this. Let's do this tomorrow. He literally came out and said that, and then he went and performed amazingly and scored in that game. So he likes this. He likes being the protagonist. He likes the attention. I think he likes winding people up as well. He likes scoring goals for Barcelona, and he's pretty good at it.
Phil, let's talk about the managers here. You got a Xabi Alonso who didn't do well in the derby, right? Gets a real whooping against Atleti. And then you got Hansi Flick, who's not going to be on the touchline, suspended. How much of a hit is that? So maybe just touch on both managers.
So let's start with Xabi Alonso. And obviously there is that big derby defeat to Atletico Madrid in the background just a few weeks ago. And also a little bit further back is the Club World Cup defeat to Paris Saint-Germain as well. And people have been saying the two big games that he's come up against, big opponents, they've lost, and they've lost heavily. So there is just a little added bit of pressure on Xabi Alonso after those two heavy defeats. Now, obviously, it would be absolutely insane to say that he is under pressure after 9 games in the league. They're top of the league. They've got 3 wins out of 3 in the Champions League. However, this is Real Madrid, and you are never too many defeats away from being heavily scrutinised. And he was asked about this, I think, post-match against Juventus, about the pressure going into this after those defeats to PSG and Atleti. And he was you could sort of sense that he was thinking, well, I mean, come on, guys, give me a chance here. But at Real Madrid, you don't tend to get that much of a chance. Having said that, I do think that he does have a little bit of leeway. He's not going to be kicked to the curb if they don't win this game. Remember, the Clasico has been the kiss of death for a couple of Real Madrid managers in the not too distant past. Julian Lopetegui, Rafa Benitez had big defeats in the Clasico and didn't last much longer. I don't think that's going to happen to Xabi Alonso, but those results against PSG and Atleti have ramped up the pressure a little bit more. Hansi Flick, we've seen him being a little bit more antsy, a little bit more nervous, a little bit more angry this season because things haven't gone according to plan. Sent off last week and then made some rather obscene gestures for which he kind of apologised. I don't think it's going to change the Barcelona game plan too much for the actual Clasico, not having Hansi Flick on the touchline, but it is perhaps indicative that things aren't necessarily going Barcelona's way this season. The team isn't playing how he wants them to play, and you can sense that frustration bubbling on the sideline for Hansi Flick.
So, Phil, I want to talk about the protagonists, the difference makers on the pitch. We have a Real Madrid side at home featuring a red-hot Kylian Mbappé. He's finally clicked. This is his squad in the attacking third. I think he's taken the mantle away from Jude Bellingham, who's just coming back onto the pitch, and a Vini Jr. versus a Barcelona side who have the psychological edge. Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford, who's come to life. Who are you giving the edge to in this one?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, mentioning Kylian Mbappé, this is the Kylian Mbappé that Real Madrid waited all that time for. 7 years they tried to sign him. And this is why, because this version of Kylian Mbappé is the difference maker. He is the guy that will win matches and will win titles for them, because we've seen them be pretty solid defensively this season. They've only conceded 9 goals. It's one of the best defensive records in the league. And if you've got someone who's finishing up front like Mbappé, that will be differential for you across the course of a season. So the form of Kylian Mbappé is like the massive, bright, shining light for Real Madrid so far. Then there are other really positive things that we've seen, new signings, Carreras, Hausen, Arda Güler in a new position as well. All those things have been great. But Kylian Mbappé is the man for Real Madrid, and his form has been the best thing about Real Madrid so far this season. I think, listen, I'm going to, rather than just focus it on kind of individuals, I want to break it down like who's got the edge. I was looking at Barcelona's recent games this season, right? And I was looking at some of the stats. And I was looking at the metric Opta-defined big chances. A big chance is basically when somebody should score. Barcelona have been giving up a ridiculous amount of big chances to their opponents. I went back and had a look. Levante had 6 big chances against them. Barcelona had 3 in that game. Sevilla had 5 big chances. Girona had 3 big chances in their game. Barcelona only managed 2 in that match. If you give up these big chances, and these are teams in the lower half of the division, if you give up big chances like this against Real Madrid, against Kylian Mbappé, they will punish you. So I think kind of like going into this, Barcelona structurally there are problems. They're not pressing as effectively. That's made everyone talk about the high line, but it doesn't start with the high line. It starts with the front line. Raphinha hasn't been there to press effectively in the final third. And we've been noticing that as well. So I give Real Madrid the edge on this, not because they have been playing unbelievably well this season, but I think there is a bit more structure there. They look a little bit more solid, and Barcelona haven't been the compact, pressing, intense unit that we saw last season, which was so successful.
Phil, in the modern game, we talk about expected goals. I want to talk about expected injuries because Barcelona, they've had a ton of them, right? Robert Lewandowski, his injury problems. Raphinha, his injury problems as well. You go down the list, they've been beleaguered by injuries. So what's the latest in terms of those updates heading into El Clasico?
Yeah, I mean, it's true, and it's something that we should mention. And Robert Lewandowski, I don't think he's going to play. Their first two choice goalkeepers are out in Joan Garcia and Ter Stegen. So obviously we're going to see Wojciech Szczesny play. Dani Olmo isn't going to play, although that's no great loss given the form of Fermin Lopez. But yeah, there have been lots of injuries for them, and I think Raphinha is the key one. And they need to get Raphinha for so many reasons. And I touched upon it there, that high press. He is the leader of the high press. And if Barcelona don't press effectively in the final third, it gives opponents spaces to pick passes and be able to break the high line. That's why we're seeing Barcelona have been so exposed at so many times this season. It starts from the front. And if Raphinha isn't there, and Lamine Yamal wasn't there, and Lamine Yamal, by the way, last season, he was 2 or 3 in the division for final third recovery. So we all talk about his attacking prowess, but he was doing his job defensively last season as well, and they've missed that this season. So the injuries have been a really big problem for Barcelona, particularly where they've happened. And I think Ferran Torres will be back. We'll see whether Marcus Rashford plays on the left-hand side instead of Raphinha. I'm not entirely sure we're going to see Raphinha from the start, if at all. But they've been really problematic in the final third for Barca.
Phil, one player that I think we've forgotten to talk about is Jude Bellingham, right? We talked about Kylian Mbappé and Vini Jr. How big is it for him to have gotten the match-winning goal against Juve coming into a Clasico on a big night for Madrid and a big night against their rivals?
No, it does feel big as well. And coming off the back of a really quite decent performance against Getafe in La Liga. So bit by bit, we're seeing Jude Bellingham, I want to say get back to his best. But the problem is the structure of this Real Madrid side now, we're not entirely sure how and where Jude Bellingham is going to play or where Jude Bellingham is going to play to get the best out of him. And it's not just Jude. I think there are a few players who are in this kind of position as well. Where does Fede Valverde play? Where's Arda Güler going to play? And where is Jude Bellingham going to play? But of course, Jude is someone who's not really being discussed as an option to drop out of the starting 11. Jude Bellingham has to be in this Real Madrid team. They just have to find a place to get him in. Where is it going to be? Tchouaméni needs to play. The form that Arda Güler's in, he needs to play. Bellingham needs to play. So it looks like maybe there's a spot on the right. Mastantuono, Brahim, probably not Rodrigo. But yeah, it's been different for Jude Bellingham and a number of players this season, transitioning from how things were under Carlo Ancelotti to how things are now under Xabi Alonso. Added to that, he's coming back from shoulder injury. And he came back a month early as well. He was supposed to be out for 3 months, Jude Bellingham. Came back after 2, perhaps rushed it a little bit. I think now he's fully fit. Now is the time where we are supposed to start seeing the Jude Bellingham for Real Madrid under Xabi Alonso.
Phil, really quick, how many total goals in this game?
Ooh,
great question. You said really quick. I've got so much to say about this, but okay, I'll be really, really quick. 3-2 to Real Madrid.
You put him on the
Wow,
spot.
you gave a prediction, too. I tried to let him off the hook with the total goals, but we got it all.
Yeah, thank you.
Phil, we appreciate it. You're going to be on the call on the World Feed, correct?
Correct, yes.
That's what we like to hear.
Congrats,
That's what
buddy.
we like to hear. Phil will be on the call. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. A Clasico.